Hey guys, it's Bumpkins, and now that I have my YouTube channel set up, one of the first things I wanted to do, one of the first things I wanted to make a video about is going through some of my old trading cards. Now, because it's me, because it's this channel, I'm actually talking non-sports trading cards, mostly comic cards. So for those who don't know, in the 1990s, there was a huge market for non-sports trading cards, again, mostly comic book related, most of those being Marvel trading cards. I've got a bunch here. I've actually got a binder full of, I think, 3 different series of Marvel trading card sets, and then I've got another binder here full of 2 different X-Men trading card sets. So we're going to look through those just to sort of relive the glory days of what these cards were, what they looked like, the joy of collecting them back in the day. But when we're done looking through those, we're actually going to look through this box as well, because I've got a bunch more stuff in here. And to be honest, I actually don't remember everything that I have in this box. I do know what's in these binders because I've looked through them fairly recently. But this box, I actually just pulled it out of my garage. I do know that I have a couple of full sets or almost full sets in here, but then I've also got some other random cards that I put in all these plastic cases back when I was a kid, from different series, different characters. I don't even know half of what's in here, but we're gonna look through this box and see what I got. I don't know why they're not in binders, so maybe by looking through all of this stuff, we can figure out what I was thinking, why I've got them in a box like this instead of nice pretty binders. But it's going to be fun to go back through these and relive the glory days of collecting all these cards. So let's take a look. Okay, guys, so the first thing I want to look at is just my Marvel trading cards. I've got 3 different series in this binder. This is just a regular clear sleeve binder, just a 3-ring binder. And I do have this, I don't remember where I got it. I think a friend gave it to me. I've got this cool just Infinity Gauntlet. You know, you would see these kinds of ads in the windows of comic shops all the time back in the day, and you still do. But this is when the Infinity Gauntlet was out back around, I think it was 1990. So I thought that was pretty cool. When I was a kid, though, when I was collecting these, I actually didn't even really know much about the Infinity Gauntlet yet. But a friend gave that to me. I thought it would be cool to put that as the cover for my card binder here. Let's open it up. Make sure we get it nice and centered here so we can see everything. All right, so I actually started collecting these with the Series 2 Marvel trading cards from 1991. So these are from a company called Impel, and they did a few different series over the course of a few years in the 90s. And there was a series before this, the very first series of Marvel cards, and I never got any of those. Those came out before I was even really into comics. So this series will always be near and dear to my heart because it's because of this series that I even started collecting comics in the first place, which led to over 30 years of me collecting comics, and I still collect them to this day. So I remember just a quick trip down memory lane. My friend Travis and I were actually at his dad's house. I was spending the night at his dad's house, which I remember being strange because we were usually at his mom's house. But he had a ton of these. And we were actually just going through them all. He let me have a bunch of his extras. At the time, now this was 1991, as you can see on the cards. I had some comics. I had some DC comics. I had some Spider-Man comics. You know, I knew the basics I knew who Spider-Man was. I knew who Captain America was. But I didn't know at the time. I didn't know who I didn't know Marvel Girl. I didn't know Submariner, Shadowcat. I didn't know who a lot of these characters were. I didn't know their backstories. I didn't know anything about most of them. And just looking through these cards at my friend Travis's house just lit this spark inside of me. Like, I want to know everything about all of these characters. And as we'll see, there are not just character cards in here. There's actually other cards about rivalries and weapons and all that stuff. And I wanted to know, as I was looking through this, I wanted to know everything about all of it. So we're going to go through these real quick. I don't want this to be like a 4-hour video examining each card, but I do want to flip through and just sort of relive all these. So we've got, and these are in numerical order. So I think one of the later sets actually ordered these. All these cards have numbers, but I think one of the later sets actually ordered them alphabetically. This set just ordered them. Obviously, Spider-Man's going to be your first, but it wasn't always Spider-Man in front. But all of these cards had numbers on the back. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Oh, there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was a fun way to, make sure you had all the cards, keep up with what you were missing, know which ones you still needed, being able to put them in binders like this and skip the holes where you may have some. One thing that's great about a lot of these Marvel cards is they are original art done specifically for the cards. Some of the X-Men cards that I have, and actually some of the DC cards that were out in the 90s as well, I didn't love those as much. Even a series of Spider-Man cards that I have a few of, I didn't love those as much because they were just art taken from the comics, put onto cards. And I thought that was a little kind of lame because I can see that art. I can already open up those comics, open up those issues, and look at those pictures. So I like these sets because they are original art. So anyway, guys, let's just flip through some of these pages. We won't spend a lot of time on them. I don't want to make this like a 4-hour video because I could, trust me, I could just pour over these things all day long. But I just wanted to flip through these and just look at the artwork. Again, all original art by various artists, which I think is great. And a lot of these characters, were popular back in 1991, not so much anymore. Actually, a lot of the characters, even on this page, you don't see too much of anymore. But that's the fun thing about comics, they sort of ebb and flow. They, new characters are introduced, old characters sort of fade away. Yeah, all just original art though. Art Adams Hulk, I love that, and I believe that's an Art Adams Captain America as well. Some of these have the artist signatures, some of them don't. But yeah, these are all the... Oh yeah, and they split them up. I forgot about this too. They split them up into heroes, and then a section for villains, and then, like I said, a section for fights and arch enemies and weapons. So yeah, we're going to get to those. But these are all the cards that I originally collected when I was a kid in 1991. This is the binder that I put them in. This isn't, I didn't like redo these for this video. This is originally how I had them. Deathwatch. I think he was a Ghost Rider villain. I don't even know where he is anymore. Nebula doesn't look anything like what she does in the movies. That's okay. Comic book characters change and evolve. I remember liking that Ron Lim Red Skull. I'm a big Ron Lim fan. So we went through the villain. So here's the arch enemy. So these cards were sideways. And these, one card that I remember specifically is this Wolverine versus Sabretooth right here. Let me see if I can get, I can get these out pretty easy. This Wolverine Sabretooth right here. I remember I didn't know anything about Wolverine or Sabretooth. And this card specifically, I remember thinking, whoa, I don't know who those guys are, but I want to know everything about them. And that really, like I said, that really helped me jump into comics. I really wanted to know about this stuff. So I wanted to know why they were fighting. Daredevil, Elektra. I didn't know Elektra at the time. Spider-Man, Hobgoblin. I think at the time I never heard of Hobgoblin. I thought Baron Zemo looked cool. I just wanted to know why all these guys were fighting. I remember Punisher versus Kingpin. I thought that was pretty neat. And I even like seeing that now because Kingpin, you don't see Kingpin match up against the Punisher as much as you probably should. As much as I would like to see. Normally he's facing off against Daredevil or Spider-Man. Thing versus Hulk, Art Adams, I believe, again. Fantastic. Eric Larson, Wolverine versus Hulk. I mean, these are great. And I think these, actually there may have been another series that did something similar to this, but I love that these aren't just character cards. They give you a story. They tell you why these characters are fighting, on the back. That's one thing that we didn't even look at either is on the backs of these cards, there's a whole description. If we flip back to, it gives you the origin, what their name is, their power, these arbitrary power scales here, which were always fun to look at back then. Looking at them now, what does it really mean? But on the Arch Enemies cards, you know, gives you a little story as to why. So that was enough to trigger me. It's like, okay, you're telling me why they're fighting. That's cool. I want to go read more and learn how they got there in the first place. And then weapons. I thought this was great too. One thing that I loved was Daredevil's Billy Club. I was like, why, you know, Billy Club, how cool can that be? Oh boy, he's got a hook and a rope, and he can do all kinds of stuff. So on the back of this one, these actually gave you schematics. So if you follow my _Comics Daily Twitter account, you know that I love schematics. Every time I see blueprints or schematics in a comic, I will post that, tweet that out. So it actually gave you sort of like blueprints of each one of these weapons. Wolverine's claws. I love that image of Wolverine. And then Legends. So, too bad that they couldn't have made 6 more cards in the weapons category. That way it would have been perfectly even weapons, and then we could have flipped over to Legends on the next page. But, yeah, the Legends series were characters who supposedly at the time were, you know, prominent in the comics at one point, and then who since had died. We know that death is not permanent or even really something you have to worry about in comics, but that cool little six card set of Legends. And then the rookies were really cool too. Reading an issue of Sleepwalker or looking at anything with Sleepwalker or Rage really takes me back, because these rookies, literally meaning all of these characters, not necessarily these characters, but this team, but all of these characters were just premiering in comics right when I started reading them. So these are, anytime I see Darkhawk, Sleepwalker, Rage, or even X-Force, absolutely takes me back to when I first started collecting all these. And then when they had team cards, Fantastic Four, Avengers West Coast, I didn't know at the time that there were 2 different teams of Avengers, which I thought was really cool. I thought, I want to know more about these guys. I knew the X-Men, but I didn't know really any of their history. I didn't know there was different X teams, so I thought X Factor looked really cool. Masters of Evil, Marauders. And then you've got a couple cards that actually explain the power ratings. You know, like I said, those arbitrary power meters here. You got a couple cards explaining those. So like as level 7 strength is incalculable, able to lift over 100 tons. And it kind of shows different characters who line up next to that. I think they had Spider-Man at a ranking of 4. So those are pretty cool. And then the checklist. You always have to have a checklist card. And I don't want to skip ahead too much, but yeah, it even categorized them out for you. I think I had an extra one of these, so I actually would write on it and check, and that really helped me keep track of what I had. But yeah, full set here. Of all of the cards that I have, and of all of the cards we're going to look through, this series is my favorite, bar none, because of just how it started everything for me. Without this series of cards, I don't even know what I would be doing today. I don't mean like career-wise, but I just mean I don't know what I would be into. Because comics has been, as far as hobbies go, more so than movies, more so than TV or video games, comics has been my #1 thing, my #1 hobby for the majority of my lifetime. And none of that would have happened without this series of cards. And with, like I said, without my friend Travis, who kickstarted me, who gave me some of his extras and lit that spark. Without this series of cards, none of anything that I have in my house that's, you know, collectible would probably even be here. So I think I will never, ever, ever get rid of this. All right, so moving on, we're actually skipping, and I put these little sticky protectors on because some of my sheets were getting a little bit split, and you can tell they're not super great. So moving on, we're actually skipping a series. This is series 2. There was a series 3 from 1992, and there was another Marvel Masterpiece series from 1992. We're going to get to those. That's what's in those clear plastic cases that I have. But and I don't know why those aren't in a binder. But we're actually skipping over to series 4. And I believe these are from 1993. And these cards were different because you could put them together and make one image. Now, I actually sadly never completed this set, so it looks kind of weird. You can see, you know, we're obviously missing some cards here. I thought these were cool, but I didn't love them as much because I just preferred the one single character card. I thought it was cool that you could put the pictures together, but, you know, if you just have, let's see if I can get this guy out of here. If you just have Adam Warlock, well, that card by itself doesn't look as cool, right? So it's, you know, the borders, maybe it's just OCD or something, but it's just a border halfway around. The rest is, you know, we don't get any sort of origin text on the back. It's just we get our power meters, but nothing else really. So that card by itself doesn't look as cool to me. Now, when you put it with the set, obviously it looks pretty neat, but you know, I like, you know, before I put these in a binder, I was just flipping through them and I didn't think they were as cool. But we're starting to get into some different, you know, here's the so-called rookies. Cardinal, I always thought looked really cool. I don't even know, even now, I don't really know who that is or where he went. But I like that look for Firestar. We've got some X-Force here. I like that look for Shatterstar. Got some Excalibur. Wildheart, I always thought he looked pretty cool. Don't know where he went. I don't know that I have one full page of any of these. These are like all the Norse. Now, they did try to keep everybody together. So, you know, they kept all the the cosmic characters together, that kind of thing. They kept all of the Norse characters together here. Thor down there at the bottom. The one page I do have, I think, I'm not sure if I have any full pages, but the one that I do have this is Spider-Man, obviously. Demo Goblin was big in the 90s. Hobgoblin, Shock, I don't know where she went. Ron Lim drew all these. Like I said, big Ron Lim fan. So that's a cool, see, those look cool together. And the Spider-Man one by itself looks cool because there's no, like, lingering border, so he's, like, right in the middle. But, yeah, not all these look cool. The West Coast Avengers. Namor with a beard kind of looks neat. I would love to fill in these holes. Maybe I'll have to get on eBay. Oh, I do have another full page of the Fantastic Four. This is back when the Thing had to wear a helmet. We've got Elijah, that whole 90s thing with her and the Human Torch. Some of our street level heroes and villains. Nomad. Avengers, I do have these as well. This is Ron Friends, I believe. I should know this better than I do. Blood Axe. Now, let me tell you something, guys. I have an unnatural love for Thunderstrike. So if you'll notice, a staple of the 90s, half of these characters are wearing, or not half of them, but a few of them are wearing leather jackets. Why does Crystal need a leather jacket? She's an Inhuman. Why does Cersei need a leather jacket? She is an Eternal. Why does Thunderstrike need a jacket? He's as powerful as Thor. You know, so Blood Axe was a big enemy of Thunderstrike. I love Thunderstrike. I would love to do a video just about the Thunderstrike series. All right, so this page was cool, but you know, Hercules. I mean, this is classic 90s right here. Cap never changed his look, but Hercules looks way different. Then you've got your Supernatural, your Ghost Riders, and your Morbius, Night Stalkers. I loved in the 90s. I loved the Midnight Suns, Ghost Rider, Night Stalkers, all that line of comics. I loved those, and I have those. I'm gonna do a video digging through my entire collection, and we're gonna relive some memories there too. Blaze, I always thought it was cool when I remember Ghost Rider, Blaze, Spirits of Vengeance, that title. I loved all those. I loved them. We've got some X-Men. This is not Jim Lee. This is Art Thibert, I think. I hate that I don't know these a little bit better. But yeah, more cosmic stuff. The Kree, Skrulls, Asgardians. These are like your cosmic beings. And then I think this was the Marvel UK stuff with Death's Head. I actually don't know much about these guys even today. This one did kind of try to do the same thing as Series 2, where they gave you more than just character cards. So they gave you unsolved mysteries, the origin of Ghost Rider, what does Darkhawk's face look like, the face of Doctor Doom, the secret of Spider-Man's parents. I feel like the origin of Nightcrawler. I feel like some of these have been answered since then. And then you've got your famous battles. I love that War Machine by himself is a famous battle. So these were cool, but just not at Alex Saviuk, Spider-Man versus Venom. These aren't as cool as the Marvel Series 2, though, but I do like them. I do like that we see heroes and villains pitted against each other. Thor versus Blood X. That's Thor versus Blood X, but that's actually that's Eric Masterson. That's the version of Thor that will become Thunderstrike. Spider-Man versus Juggernaut, one of the greatest battles ever. And I hope I'm not pulling these too much out of frame when I pull up the pages. I know this isn't the most technically wonderful video you've watched, but I just wanted to relive these. So Hulk versus Hulk, Green and Gray. Spider-Man versus Cardiac. Cable and Deadpool. And then your checklist. Yep. All right, so then also in 1992, like I mentioned, there was from Skybox, there were these Marvel Masterpieces. Now, these were all drawn by a fella named Joe Jusko. Drawn, painted, I should say. And one thing that I'll always remember about these cards is I bought everything else in packs, right? And I just hoped that I could collect everything. These cards, these Marvel Masterpiece cards, I remember 1992. I was 13 years old. I saved and saved and saved and saved and saved and saved my money and managed to save $100. And I went to my comic book store and I bought a box. First time I'd ever done that, and the only time I ever did that. I bought a box of these cards. Went home, opened the box, had all those packs just like you would see sitting on the counter of a comic book store. And it was so hard not to just tear them all open right then, because I knew the thrill would be gone after that, right? Like I just blew $100, and that was a fun 10-minute thrill opening them all. I didn't want to do that, so I really sort of policed myself and only opened, I think, 2 packs a day. I don't remember how many packs were in the box, but I was able to get the entire set. And these ones, these are numbered as well. Obviously, they're all numbered. Otherwise, they'd just be in here randomly. But so yeah, these are the ones that I mentioned are in alphabetical order: Blob, Blaze, Black Widow, Black Panther, Black Cat, Bishop. Never mind. I was wrong, because Archangel and Apocalypse are down here in the bottom. So never mind. Forget what I said about being alphabetized. It's almost like, Darkhawk, Daredevil, they're close, right? I don't know why they're ordered this way. That Captain America card is amazing. Even to this day. All these cards are still amazing. All this art is still amazing. Heroes in the Snow. I talked about that recently on an episode of Comics Daily Weekly, how I love Heroes in the Snow. I love that Dr. Octopus card. I love that Hulk card. If you ask anybody who knows about this set, they'll probably, if you just mention the Marvel Masterpiece set to them, they'll probably think about that card. The Hulk card. I remember liking that Iron Man card. Iceman. So yeah, I was able to get all of these. Now these cards, if we look on the back, these go the other way from the Series 4, where we get a little bit of text on the back about who this character is, real name, first appearance. We don't get our power levels anymore, our power meters, so that's okay. I don't really, like I said, those are pretty arbitrary anyway. Night Thrasher's still hanging around. I would love for Night Thrasher to come back, and I think he did appear or has made some appearances in some of the more recent comics. I am over 2 years behind on current Marvel comics, so I don't know what's going on. I know what events are going on, but I don't know who's in them or what they're about. I will catch up, though. I remember thinking that design for North Star was really cool. Yeah, these are great. And of course, you know what? I said that people will probably think about that Hulk card, either that card or Spider-Man. They'll think of one of the two. or the Thing, because look at that. I mean, that's just his face. That's just a close-up of his face, and that's all you need, right? I remember liking this design for Weapon Omega. I didn't know who he was, but I thought he looked like Spider-Man, and I thought that was cool. And the Wolverine, I love the big hair. And there you go. There, I don't know why that empty page is there. But yeah, so that is my set, or some of my Marvel, just general Marvel cards. And I love opening this every so often and then just looking through them and reliving the glory days. All right, guys, moving on to the couple of different sets of X-Men specific cards I have here. Again, just like my Marvel cards, this is not a special binder. This is just one of those clear plastic covers. And I don't even remember where I got this Mutant Genesis image. Rob Liefeld on his Robservation podcast recently talked about this and just the genesis of how the X-Men and X-related characters started blowing up in the early 90s. And this is just a sort of a advertisement, probably something you see in a comic book store, talking about all the number ones. So around this time is when we were getting the Jim Lee X-Men number 1, X-Force, X-Factor number 71 was a new direction for them. Excalibur 42, Uncanny X-Men 281, all new directions for these X-related comics. And like I said, at the time, I didn't know a lot about a lot of this. I was still in the learning phase of a lot of stuff, but I thought that would make a cool cover for my X-Men binder. All right, so this, let me get this nice and centered up so we can take a really good look at it. This series of X-Men cards I didn't love as much, and like I said, because this is all Jim Lee artwork, but it's taken from different issues. So these are not original art made for this series of cards. So I didn't love these as much. You do get a little character bio on the back of some of these, no power levels or anything like that. The backs are black and white. So I didn't love these as much. It gives you a little bit of an explanation of, you know, what's going on, who these people are, what's going on in these cards. But again, these are all taken from actual comics. Although I do love that Captain America, Jim Lee Captain America. I think that's fantastic. So we'll kind of look through these. This is great art. I love the artwork. I mean, Jim Lee can do no wrong in my eyes. But you know, some of its covers. I mean, these two are almost the exact same card, so you know, these aren't as great. I don't want to say these are great from an art perspective, but from a collectible series of card perspective and just getting more new artwork and stuff to look at, it's not as great. And these were fewer cards as well, although we still do have our checklist. So what I did like, though, there was another series of Jim Lee drawn X-Men cards, and these are more like the kinds of cards that I like. These were original art, all drawn by Jim Lee, made specifically for these cards with, you know, different categories, superheroes, and we've got we're kind of back to our bios, our power levels on the back, group affiliation, height and weight, all that kind of stuff. So these are a lot more like those Series 2 Marvel cards that I love, only X-Men specific and all drawn by one artist, the great Jim Lee, who is probably my favorite artist of all time. It goes from the heroes to the villains. It's kind of strange that they call them superheroes and supervillains. You don't hear the X-Men really referred to as superheroes anymore. The last time I remember that was it Astonishing X-Men number 1, where at the end of that issue, you know, they got rid of all the black leather that they were wearing around the time and put on like tights again, and Wolverine said something about it, and Cyclops says, because we're superheroes, Wolverine, you know, the black leather's scaring people or something like that. I remember thinking that. I like thinking of the X-Men as superheroes. Yeah, so we've got our, basically the bad guys here. We've got our different teams. We've got our X-Men Blue, our X-Men Gold and Blue. X-Factor, X-Force, Excalibur. I love all the different bad guy groups, the Hellfire Club, the Mutant Liberation Front. I always thought these guys were really cool, you know, going toe-to-toe with X-Force. The Upstarts, TechNet, I don't know a lot about these guys. And then former X-Men, you know, your ex-X-Men, Dark Phoenix, Longshot, Allies, the Imperial Guard, Starjammer. So a lot of Shi'ar and Dark Phoenix storyline stuff here. And then you do have, from Series 4, you know, you've got your couple, I think, oh, that's the only one. Never mind. That you've got your Danger Room sequence, which makes one big picture. Again, by themselves, these cards I don't love these cards individually. You know, I can pull that Cyclops card out. I don't love that it's got like a half border around it, but I'm glad that the whole set wasn't like that. So if it's just, you know, a 9 card or maybe even 18 card subset in one larger set and making a big picture, I think that's pretty cool. I like that. And I love that. I thought it was cool too, seeing 2 members of X-Force fight with the rest of the X-Men. I always thought that was neat. And then you've got some cards specifically based on the Executioner's Song storyline, which came out back then. Wait, you know what? Actually, these are... I'm actually not sure what these are. You've got... Because on the back... Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. I actually double dipped because this was a... This was a 99 card set. And then they had, sorry, my camera's backwards. Sorry about that, guys. And then the checklist, which made card number 100. I didn't want a whole page just for the checklist, so I double dipped and just stuck him in back behind Colossus. I don't remember what these Executioner Songs cards are. That's weird. I forgot that this one page was in here, and I should have looked. I didn't want to look ahead, because I wanted to, like I said, I haven't even looked at all that box of cards. I didn't want to look ahead because I wanted to relive all this with you guys who may also have forgotten some of this stuff. If you remember what this series is, please tell me. Like I said, I could have done some research beforehand, but I didn't want to, almost like spoiling it. I didn't want to spoil anything, you know, so I wanted to just relive these cards, you know, get my reaction. You know, Bumpkins reacts to his old card set, you know, something like that. Maybe that'll be the title of the video. It actually won't. Yeah, so that's the X-Men specific cards that I have in a binder, at least. Who knows what we're going to find in the box, and that's what we're going to get to next. All right, guys, so those are all the cards that are in the 2 binders that I have. Now, full transparency, I recorded this whole video in one sitting, including the binders and everything in the box. The video ended up being over 2 hours long, and I kind of think that's just way too long for one video about a bunch of trading cards. So what I'm going to do is split this up into 2 parts. So this video, as you saw, we looked just at the binders. The next video is going to be just all the cards that I had in that plastic tote. I won't spoil anything, but we found some good stuff in there, so I'll leave it here. The next video will be up very soon. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. If you like what you saw, just please hit the subscribe button. Like the video, leave a comment below if you have any fond memories about these cards or collecting comics or just anything in general about any nostalgia you have for this hobby. I love talking to people about all that kind of stuff. So guys, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.